Hello, I'm LaToya Red Thompson, Mississippi Annual Conference Lay Leader, and I'm here with Fred Britton and David Stotts, the leaders of the 2020 Mississippi Annual Conference delegation. Fred and David are going to tell us about General Conference, our upcoming jurisdictional conference, and our delegation. David, will you tell us about the makeup of the delegation?
Thanks, LaToya. I always love to come to the laity session. I guess that's because I'm laity. So I always am happy to be here. Each annual conference is assigned the calculated number of delegates, both lay and clergy, that can be elected from each conference to the general conference. The number is based on the statistical data and the number of clergy that we supply to the General Council on Finance and Administration. The Mississippi Annual Conference was allotted 5 lay delegates and 5 clergy delegates to the General Conference and an equal number of delegates to the Jurisdictional Conference. Now, our annual conference then decided to elect alternates in case somebody's unable to serve. Our conference decided on 3 lay delegates, 3 lay alternates, and 3 clergy alternates. Now, delegates are elected in the year prior to annual conference. So in 2019, we elected our lay and clergy delegates to the 2020 General and Jurisdictional Conference. Now you can find a complete list of the delegates, see our mug shots, find our email address on that handout that LaToya gave you. Now the 2020 clergy delegates to General Conference are the Reverends Fred Britton, Maddie Gibson, Stephen Sparks, Zach Beasley, and Mitchell Hedgepeth. The 2020 lay General Conference delegates that you elected are myself, David Stotts, David Beckley, LaToya Red Thompson, Turner Arant, and Ann Harrington. The 2020 clergy delegates to the Jurisdictional Conference are the Reverends Connie Shelton, Leanne Burris, John Branning, Amy Daniels, and Embra Jackson. The 2020 lay jurisdictional delegates are Jim Ainsworth, Connie Walters, J.C. Murden, Jan Hitt, and Steve McAlilly. The 2020 clergy jurisdictional alternates are Carrie Sue McCaleb, Fitzgerald Levitt, and Stephen Cook. The 2020 lay jurisdictional alternates are Ann LaSalle, Kathleen Smith, and Tawanda Foster. You can find our contact information, like I told you, on the bottom of that handout, and we want you to feel free to contact us anytime, both with questions of what's going on and what are we doing, and information that you think we need to know about as we go to General Conference and Jurisdictional Conference on your behalf.
Thanks, David. Now, we know that we elect our delegation in a particular order. Can you tell us the significance of that order?
Oh, LaToya, you're right. The order of election is important, and people need to understand that. The first elected lay and clergy delegates lead the delegation. The head of the delegation alternates between lay and clergy. Now, in 2016, the first elected lay was the head of the delegation, and the first elected clergy was the vice chair. But for 2020, then, the first elected clergy is the head of the delegation, and the first elected lay delegate is the vice chair. Now, the first elected lay and clergy delegates also serve as the annual conference representatives on the Jurisdictional Committee on Episcopacy. They work with the College of Bishops, and they also have among their work to be done the assignment of bishops in each quadrennium. The 2 also serve on the Conference Episcopacy Committee. Now, all 13 lay and all 13 clergy delegates meet together and study legislation together. Teamwork, camaraderie, as well as thorough presentation for the plenary sessions when the final legislation approved is vital. You never know when you might be called on to step up into the next role. Hence the rules for following that order of election. When somebody is unable to serve for any reason, everyone ascends up the delegation list. Now, many of you know that long-term delegate Turner Arant passed away earlier this year. If you refer to your delegate handout, you'll see that Turner was 4th elected, and that with his passing Ann Harrington ascends to Turner Arant's slot, number 4, and Jim Ainsworth comes off of the jurisdictional delegation into the general delegation in the 5th place. At that point, then everybody in the jurisdictional delegation moves up one, and Ann LaSalle will be moving up from an alternate to the 5th delegate, and then the 2nd and 3rd will move up to 1st and 2nd. Kind of reminds you of playing musical chairs when we were in kindergarten. But it is important, and people want to keep up with that, and it can get you in trouble sometimes, because if you sit in the wrong seat, you're in trouble. So that's what it's all about, LaToya, and that's why it's important to know who got elected in what order.
Thanks, David. Now, Fred, can you tell us what are the responsibilities of the delegation?
LaToya, thank you for allowing us this opportunity to share with the lay members of our annual conference some information about the work of the delegation. Let me first say, election as a delegate to the General Conference and the Jurisdictional Conference is an honor and a responsibility. It's an honor because colleagues have discerned in the delegates the gifts and graces necessary to serve as a delegate. And it's also a tremendous responsibility because delegates will help address a wide variety of issues which will affect the future of our denomination around the world. So to answer the question, what is the responsibility of the delegation? Simply stated, the work of the delegation is to be well informed of all proposed legislation and be well prepared to vote on it. Your delegation has met many times since being elected during the 2019 annual conference and will continue to meet numerous more times. We were meeting in person until the arrival of the COVID-19 pandemic, and then we began meeting via Zoom. Very soon we'll begin meeting in person again, and we look forward to that. During our meetings, we review and discuss the proposed legislation to General Conference. There are hundreds of petitions to be considered. In addition to changes to church law, policies, and denominational statements, delegates also consider proposed changes to church structure and organization. Delegates will vote on the missional priorities in the general church budget for the upcoming quadrennium. There's a lot of work that must be completed during General Conference, and your delegation will be as well prepared as possible when they arrive at General Conference. The postponed 2020 General Conference is now scheduled for August the 29th through September the 6th, 2022 in Minneapolis, Minnesota. During the first week of the 2-week General Conference, delegates meet in their assigned committees, reviewing, debating, revising, and voting on legislation to present to the entire body of the General Conference. Each of our 10 delegates will serve on one of the 14 legislative committees. Our reserve delegates will sit in and monitor the other 4 legislative committees and bring back information to the delegation. During the second week, the entire body of delegates will meet in plenary sessions. They will debate and vote on all items approved by each of the legislative committees. Delegates will vote by secret ballot. This allows them to prayerfully vote their own conscience as they seek what is best for their annual conference and the entire worldwide denomination. After General Conference next year, the postponed 2020 Southeastern Jurisdictional Conference will meet in the year 2022 at Lake Junaluska, North Carolina. The most important work of delegates to the Jurisdictional Conference is to promote the evangelistic, educational, missionary, and benevolent interest of the church. We will receive reports from committees and ministries within the Southeastern jurisdiction. And we'll also approve the Southeastern jurisdictional budget for the next 4 years. Also, we will elect bishops. Much of our time will be spent in holy conferencing around interviews of nominees and balloting to elect new bishops. We'll also recognize the retirement of our current bishops and give them the respect and the celebration that they deserve. We'll also approve representatives from the Southeastern jurisdiction to the general boards and agencies. Election as a delegate to General Conference and Jurisdictional Conference is both an honor and a tremendous responsibility. And I want you to know your delegation is committed to being well informed of all proposed legislation and work that will come before us, and will be well prepared to vote on it. Please remember us in your prayers as we continue our work. Thank you.
Thanks, Fred. Now, how can the Mississippi Annual Conference get more information about the General and Jurisdictional Conferences and stay up to date with what's going on with the delegation?
As we get closer to General Conference in 2022, we plan to have information sharing opportunities where the delegation shares information and receives information from those in attendance. Also, the delegation will periodically send out emails as needed. In your handouts, you will find a page with several links to help you stay informed about General Conference and Jurisdictional Conference. On the Mississippi Conference website, there is a link where you can read and update about General Conference and the implications for the Mississippi Annual Conference. Also on the Mississippi website is a General Conference webpage. And on that webpage, you will find links to a video series called General Conference 101, and also the General Conference 2020 website, and information about the Mississippi Conference delegation. If you've not already subscribed to the United Methodist News Daily Digest, I encourage you to do so. It'll provide you with the latest information from across our church. Also, there's a link where you can go to the Council of Bishops homepage, and I encourage you to do that and keep up with the information that is coming from the Council of Bishops. There's a General Conference link to the Advanced Daily Christian Advocate. The ADCA contains the agenda, rules, delegate listings, petitions, reports from the general agencies, commissions, and study committees, information for delegates, and codes of conduct for the General Conference. You'll also find on that page a Southeastern Jurisdictional Conference website link. All of these are resources that we use as a delegation to help us stay informed. If you have members in your local congregation who want to know more about the upcoming General Conference and the Southeastern Jurisdictional Conference, please share this information with them. These links will help you and the members of your congregation to stay informed.
Thanks, David and Fred. General Conference and Jurisdictional Conference are so important, so we really appreciate that important information. And if you want to get more information, you can go to mississippi-umc.org/GC2020.